Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Dr. Shumway in the kitchen, or rather, Dr. Shumway in his backyard, because that's where we're going to start today. So, first thing that I typically do to prepare for dinner is in the mornings, I'm going to take and we're going to put them out in the sun. Now, the reason why is vitamin D. So, vitamin D we usually get from the sun, but most of us spend most of our day inside. But we can outsource our sun exposure, our UV exposure, to mushrooms. So, mushrooms are rich with a chemical called ergosterol. Ergosterol doesn't do that much for us, but once it's hit by a UV light, it turns into vitamin D that we can use and to help our immune system and help us be healthy. So what I usually do is I put mushrooms gills up in a clear container. This is just an egg carton, and keep them covered, keep the bugs off. I put it out here on the trampoline, put a shoe or something to keep it kind of closed. And those babies are going to be soaking up the UV rays all day and getting my vitamin D for me while I'm in the office. All right, so here we are at the corner of Peach and McGill. This is just a couple of blocks north of the clinic. Now, if you look out, in a field like this, you'll see there's all kinds of flowers. If you know what they are, you'll notice there's some that are edible. So this one here with the 4 leaves, these can be white or yellow. These are a wild radish. You can eat the leaves, you can eat the flowers. They're very good. We're going to gather a few and put them on our salad tonight. Now, if you look around, you'll also see there's some medicines too. So here, this daisy looking thing, this is actually German chamomile. So chamomile can help with relaxation, can help people sleep a little bit better. And so just look around in these fields. There's just some empty lots and they grow some weeds. Just from a distance, that just looks like dried brown grass. We'll look a little closer, you'll find food and medicine. All right, so one more ingredient we're grabbing on the way home. This is just on the roadside. You'll see this everywhere around Fresno. Once you start to recognize what this is and where to find it, this is rosemary. This is just on the side of the street. You'll see it's kind of got these kind of needle type leaves. The big giveaway is the smell. You smell that and you'll never forget it. That's rosemary. Sometimes it has those little bluish flowers on there. But yeah, it's everywhere in Fresno. It's in the roadsides and medians, and it's totally cool to forage it because they're just going to cut it back anyways when it gets overgrown. All right, here's another one you're going to see everywhere. This one with it kind of looks like a grass with purple flowers. That there is garlic. So take a nibble and you'll recognize it right away. But that's what it looks like. You'll find it on the medians everywhere. So for the rosemary, my favorite way to use it is to pop it into some olive oil. And the reason for that is that the most active ingredient in rosemary is something called rosmarinic acid. It's the primary antioxidant, and it tends to be lipophilic, so it's drawn out into the oils. Now, rosmarinic acid is an antioxidant, and it seems to have some cognitive effects through an anticholinergic mechanism. That just means that people seem to perform a little bit better on cognitive tests when they do randomized controlled trials using rosemary or rosmarinic acid. All right, so these are the oyster mushrooms that we left out on the trampoline in the morning, and you can see they're a little bit dry and crispy now. They've lost a lot of that natural moisture to the Fresno sun, but now they are totally infused with vitamin D. Now, mushrooms are a great source. Any kind of mushroom is going to have beta-glucans, ergothioneine, glutathione. Oyster mushrooms have about 3 times as much as like a regular button mushroom, but any mushroom is going to have those kinds of things in it. Another reason I love oysters is because you can grow them at home on your own. And you can grow it on all kinds of different substrates, straw, wood chips. Talk to me more if you want to learn more about mushroom cultivation at home, but you can grow it right on your countertop, and oysters are very forgiving for beginners. So we're gonna chop these up. Now, for a mushroom that still has all its hydration, you can actually do a dry fry, which means that you let it use the natural moisture from the mushroom, and you just brown it just on an empty pan with nothing on it. But since these are super dry, the way that we're gonna get them to be tasty again is we're gonna fry it up with a little bit of that oil that we've been infusing with the rosmarinic acid from the rosemary. And so because that's extra virgin olive oil, it has the aloe-european in it, which is another anti-inflammatory antioxidant. Mixing it with our ergothioneine, glutathione, beta-glucans, this is going to become a very healthy part of our meal. Alright, so we're just going to add a little bit of this rosemary infused olive oil to the pan. Just kind of get that soaked around. And then we're going to add our oyster mushrooms and some of those garlic cloves that we picked. And let that heat up for a minute. So once that's heated up with those garlic chives, I think I said cloves, I meant to say chives. But then we add a little bit of this black sesame seeds. And that's going to give it some additional nutritional benefits. So sesame seeds end up having what we call lignans in there, so like sesamin. Those actually are strong anti-inflammatories. They can help lower cholesterol and stabilize blood pressure. But they're also just super tasty with mushrooms and garlic chives. All right, so we're going to continue foraging here in the backyard. This next one we have is a trifolium. You know, it's which is a type of clover. So the three-leafed classic clover look. And then you can see these little flowers, so they're kind of like that clustered clover. It's actually in the pea family. So these are actually nitrogen fixers and really good for your soil. And they're also edible. This one's not the most delicious weed in the yard, but we're gonna just get a little bit to add a little bit of variety for our salad. And then we come over here, we have a couple more edible weeds. So this is one of my favorites. This is called chickweed. So chickweed is very nutritious, good for you. Now it's growing right next to a plant that we don't eat. I usually pick these up, but I left this one just as an example. This is actually called a four-leaf many seed, and it has kind of like this four-leaf look, and it has many seeds. So some people say it looks like chickweed, but if you get to know these guys, you can tell that they're actually very different looking. Got the rounded leaves, kind of the pointed tips. The flowers definitely look very different. But it's good to know what you're looking at so that you know, don't eat this one, and you can eat these ones. Another example of that is over here. So this is a type of sprue. So this is not edible, but it kind of looks like one that is edible. So again, we have the sprue, not edible, and here we have oxalis. So oxalis is kind of a lemony flavor. You can see it's when they get these little pods on there that have seeds in it. You can eat the pods, you can eat the leaves, you can eat the little yellow flowers. Very delicious. So we're gonna get some of this for our salad. So this is speedwell. So speedwell, you can tell like these leaves are much closer together. You don't have the big long stem gaps like you do on the mattle. But these are also edible. The issue with these are they are a little bit bitter, but sometimes the best medicines are bitter. So bitter taste actually, as you can probably tell, it decreases our appetite. And people sometimes don't like to eat bitter things because they're like, that's not very appetizing. But now people are paying hundreds of dollars for these medications to like decrease their appetite, and it works through GLP-1 activation or glucagon-like peptides receptors. Now, bitter foods actually do the same thing. So when we eat bitter foods, it slows down gastric motility, slows down our stomach. So this obviously is another example of a bitter herb or a weed that is edible and delicious and very nutritious. This is a dandelion. So obviously you're probably familiar with these. They have these little puff balls, and we'll find some in a minute that have some flowers that we can take. So over here's some with these cute little yellow flowers. So we're gonna pick a couple for our salad. Now over here on the other side of the yard, we have another plant that's very, very common in the Fresno or Central Valley area. This is a mallow, or sometimes known as a cheese weed. Now it's called that because these little berries kind of look like a cheese wheel. But this is also edible and very good for you. It also has a little bit of a medical property in that its leaves and the berries too actually have the ability to help you have a bowel movement. Now while we're back here, I'm also just gonna grab a couple of mint leaves to make a tea, add to our chamomile that we found in the field. Now everything of course in the garden is organic. Now one thing I want you to notice is that this one's kind of had something been eaten on it. Now one of the things that's interesting about leaves that have been eaten on is that they're really good for medicinal benefits for the most part, because they actually produce higher degree of those secondary metabolites as a defense mechanism. So sometimes these mint plants that have a little bit of like chewing holes on there, that's a good sign that they probably have some really good properties. So we're going to pick a few of these leaves that have been eaten on by the bugs, and we're going to put that in our tea for tonight. So another great way to add some nutrients to our salad is sprouts. So you can get these seeds. This is alfalfa and broccoli. You can get them in bulk for pretty cheap, and then you can sprout them on your own. So all you really need is like a bowl or something with a wet paper towel there in the bottom, and we're just gonna sprinkle that over the top there. And we're gonna keep that watered, and that'll start to grow up into some sprouts that we can eat later. Just spread them out even, and we're gonna keep those fresh and eat them later. However, since these are gonna take some time, I actually have some from the farmer's market that we're gonna use for our salad today. All right, so now we're gonna put it all together and make ourselves a delicious salad. So I like to use a base that's actually a store-bought base. The spring mix is my favorite because you got lots of different things going on. You can see there, we got green leaf, mizuna, tango, oak leaf, chard, baby spinach, arugula, frizzy, red leaf, Lola rosa, radicchio, baby butter, kale. So that's like 13 different plants all in one mix. So even if there was no foraging happening at all, this is actually a pretty good variety, but we can do a whole lot better. So here's all those things that we got from the yard. So there we are, just from the yard. We have oxalis, dandelion, clover, mallow/cheeseweed, chickweed, speedwell from the backyard. Oh, and then we got the jointed charlock and the wild radish. That's from that field on the way home. And then we're gonna add in our garlic chives that we got on the side of the road, and our UV infused vitamin D rich homegrown oyster mushrooms sauteed in rosemary infused extra virgin olive oil. We'll add that right there on the top. Boom. So then we're going to add a few more store-bought items on the top. So we got the carrot. We're going to grate that on the top. We're going to add those sprouts I was talking about. So these are from the farmer's market. This is sunflower sprouts. Those are radish sprouts. We got some red cabbage sprouts. We got some sweet pea sprouts. And then we're going to sprinkle ourselves some hemp seeds on the top. Hemp seeds are awesome because they are, ounce per ounce, more protein than beef. Real powerhouse for nutrition. Lots of omega-3 fatty acids too. For our salad dressing, I'm going to use this grape must balsamic vinegar. And then we got some stone ground mustard. We're going to add some maple syrup, and then we just kind of mix it in. Now, the easy way to do that is just balsamic vinegar, mustard, and syrup in a 3-2-1 ratio. It's called the 3-2-1 dressing, very popular in whole food plant-based circles. So here's that masterpiece of a salad, and then we're going to just kind of drizzle that up over the top. So we'll just kind of mix that in while we're eating it so it's not all concentrated in one spot. But that right there is a serious salad. This isn't no romaine side salad. This is a main course. All right, I almost forgot about this one. We're going to make ourselves a little tea out of that chamomile from the field and the mint from the garden. Put that in a little tea ball. We're going to mix that in some water that we just microwaved, and we'll let that seep for a little bit. Now, coming back to this salad, that's 29 different plants all there on that plate. Now, why go through all that trouble? One, because it's freaking delicious, because there are just so many things happening at the same time. This kind of salad is an experience. This is fun. This is how we love to eat plant-based food. The other reason is something called synergy. So when we use more than one medicine in the clinic, like when we use 2 different blood pressure medicines at a low dose, we actually get more benefit than if we use one medicine at a high dose. And that sort of synergistic effect happens with our plant foods all the time. So when we increase the variety, a lot more things are happening all at the same time. We don't have a ton of studies to kind of know exactly what these things are doing, but we do know that more seems to be better. People who eat more varieties of plants in their diet end up having a lot better health outcomes. So here we have more than 30 different varieties of plants, and this is a wonderful salad. So you don't have to do it all. Don't feel overwhelmed, but do as much as you can. Find those foods that are around you in your yard, around your house, and do what you can to try to spice up those salads. You don't want to just be eating ranch on romaine lettuce. That's not a salad. This is a salad. All right, guys. Thanks for joining Dr. Shumway. This has been Making Salads.